Just to go into like what autism is. Autism is what the heck is autism? Autism or ASD is, you know, when you would think I'd be able to explain something I have. Anyways, hi guys, it's Tobe here, the official Black Bee, talking to you now about neurodivergent and mental health awareness. If you don't know, this is the channel that helps raise awareness about neurodiversity and mental health, the arts and hearts of others. On this channel, I talk about my own experiences, but also like to share information with you guys about anything along the topics that I mentioned. Sometimes I might even incorporate talking about my own experience as a Caribbean woman who is neurodivergent and deals with mental health as well. It's very hard to find um, content that is similar to me, so that's why I decided to just, when you can't find something, you start it. Today we'll be talking about autistic burnout. Just to go into like what autism is. Autism is what the heck is autism? So our ASD is, when you would think I'd be able to explain something I have. Anyways, if you're wondering what autism is, feel free to look at the video up there and I explain a little more in detail what autism is. Now let's get into what autistic burnout is. Autistic burnout is when a person with autism is overwhelmed, struggling with coping, struggling with keeping up, is completely drained. Think of it like your phone battery. Imagine that it's on 0%. What does it do? It dies. Not saying a person with autism dies when they're burned out, but that's definitely what it feels like for me. I would say in my own experience, when I'm burned out, I'm less social. I usually don't talk as much. I'm usually in my own space. I cancel all my plans. I just hide under a blanket and watch YouTube videos or edit or draw, something along the lines hiding under a blanket. I'm not even gonna lie, I had a burnout like 2 days ago. I'm not even sure exactly, I can't even remember exactly the reason why. I think it had to do with me trying to time manage with making this video. And in the sense of making this video, I think you guys could probably even tell from the difference from the video. I'll link it up there. I'll link it up there. That this was my energy that I had in the first video, and this is my energy now. I'm not gonna lie, I even dress based on how I feel. You see me wearing all black, kind of rocking the emo all aesthetic today, cause I'm definitely still recovering from the burnout. And burnout can be very overwhelming. For some people, it can be physical. You can get migraines, tummy aches, you can get body aches, you can get all types of aches, honestly. It can be emotional. It can almost feel like depression. It can be increased anxiety, but just feeling like you can't keep up. And when I mean can't keep up, I feel like when I'm burned out, one of my biggest stressors is not being able to keep up the way I used to. I mean, like forgetting things like tying my shoes, not being able to successfully be in the moment with the people who I care about, be in the moment when heading out with friends, being really quiet. And it can feel like I'm ignoring them, which does not make me feel good, or feel like I'm ignoring the tasks that are really important. In situations such as just getting chores done and getting things done that are really important to me. So with this, it can be very stressful to deal with autistic burnout. And, there's different, I feel like everybody within the neurodiverse universe can deal with burnout. It can be depression related, it can be ADHD related, it could be anything. Even if you're a typical person, you can still experience burnout. You can also experience having situations where you feel just completely not yourself. You can even deal with depersonalization, and so many things, which I will be making another video about that, because I think I'm starting to hyper focus on derealization and depersonalization. So look forward to that video because I've been researching it and I would like to share with you guys later what my thoughts are on it and the signs and symptoms of depersonalization and how it does affect individuals who have mental health or are on the neurodivergent scale, which for example could be ADHD, could be bipolar, it could be OCD, could be autism, could be dyslexia, etc., etc., etc. Next, I would say what causes this. So, what causes autistic burnout could be sensory overload. I mean, for me, when I wash the dishes, which is my least favorite chore, I sometimes I just gotta wear gloves because washing food off the plates can be sensory overload to me. Touching the hot or cold water, just the wetness of water itself, just on my hands, can be very overwhelming to me. I mean, even motion sickness, when I'm driving around, I definitely feel icky sometimes. As much as I love travel, sometimes driving in the car is just not for me. Um, I would say it could be sensory overload, even being in an event where there's lots and lots of noise, just anything that messes with your sensory, eating something that's the wrong texture. I would say another thing would be increased in masking or just masking in general. When masking a lot or being forced to mask more than usual, that can lead to burnout. If you're wondering what masking is, feel free to check out that video up there where I talk all about masking and my experience with masking. But just to give a summary, it's just kind of like, it's not exactly being a fake version of you, but it's just kind of like putting on a translator for your brain and like pushing out your actual thoughts and putting it out to the world so they understand. That's how I do it. Because I think my brain is a different specimen. I think how I think and how I talk and within my brain is very different, or how I talk or think and whatever or act when I'm not masking is very different from how I act, talk, and whatever when I am masking, and not necessarily doesn't make it not me. It just means that I have put it in a more controlled sense where everybody can understand what I'm saying. Again, more like a translator, taking Spanish to English, but instead it's an autistic language to English. Then I would say another thing would be lack of accommodations. So lack of accommodations, which can link into being masking, is when, let's say if you have a job or you have schoolwork and you have lack of accommodations. Let's say that at work you have to constantly talk to people. Let's say at school you have to do a school project and it's just like with other people. Let's say that you have to do anything that takes a little more oomph for you to do. And when I mean this, I mean like an autistic person takes a little more oomph, which I'm talking about mainly social skills and motor skills and stuff like that. It can be a lot. And those are like a few things that could cause burnout, right? Because you know what it is, you know how it happens, but how do you know it's happening? So I would say that before, as I said, it can almost like manifest kind of like depression. It can show lack of motivation. It can be body aches. It can be feeling like you're actually trying to get everything done before the fall, if that makes sense. I think that's something I personally do sometimes, is that when I know I'm about to burn out, I try to do as much work as possible because I don't know how long it's going to last and I don't know how it's going to affect me or what I'm going to forget. Which I forgot to mention that sometimes during burnout, people might be more forgetful. As I said, forgetting to tie shoes, forgetting the recipes, forgetting how to do hair, forgetting how to fold correctly or park the car correctly because your brain's just so sizzled out at the moment of. I would say that, yeah, so forgetfulness, an urgency to get everything done, feeling like there's a clock running in your head. When I mean that, I mean like a clock going down slowly, like 3, 2, 1, like you're gonna hit the brink. You feel the last of your phone battery. Just, when it's on like 5%, 1%, you're like, dang, I gotta charge it. Imagine doing that, but you're the phone and you're not charging it. Those are some signs of burnout. I would say another sign of burnout would be withdrawal. Withdrawal from people, food, hobbies that you like. When I mean lack of motivation, I don't just mean lack of motivation in the hobbies and interests you like. I mean lack of motivation like people. work, eating, showering, whatever, just like, and anything that you probably would do on the regular to take care of yourself would be 10 times harder. Not saying it's not possible to do, but it definitely is 10 times harder. So those are some symptoms of burnout. Specifically, I'm mentioning autistic burnout, but it can also relate to other burnouts as well. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, what do I do if I have burnout? Or how can I prevent this? The first thing would be setting boundaries, not only with the people outside of yourself, but also with your own self. I mean, probably setting up a time like going to bed before 12. So, going to bed before 12, it could be making sure that you eat at 5 o'clock. It could be some like just making sure that you're like, hey, I know that my battery's about to get drained. Let's say someone wants to go to an event, you can be like, hey, I cannot go. Because what will happen is you go to the event, and then the next time you can't go to the event you probably want to go to because you're burned out. So make sure to put that boundary down of being like, hey, you know what? This event seems like, maybe it's a concert. This seems kind of loud. It seems like it might be crowded. It seems like there might be a lot going on. It kind of is like goes against my bedtime, etc., etc. I know most people, not everyone's an adult, but most people probably watching this are adults, but it's good to have a bedtime. You know what I mean? It's good to set boundaries as much as like, freedom. When you're on the spectrum, you can still have freedom as an adult, but keep in mind that you should set boundaries for yourself, because if you know yourself, you know it's going to burn you out, you know it's going to take extra effort, you know it's going to take a lot out of you, and it doesn't have to be what everybody deems as a big task or what people deem as a small task. It's what is big to you, what is small to you. If, for example, washing the dishes takes a lot of effort out of you, a lot of energy out of you, then maybe you should consider that. Even though, like, I don't know, someone else might wash dishes and be like, this is super easy. Or, you writing a whole paper on Shakespeare or whatever could be something that you really like, and it could be very tiresome to someone else. That is someone else. You are you. You are you. You have to set boundaries for you, you have to set boundaries for yourself, knowing what your needs are and knowing what you need. The next thing would be making sure that you do set boundaries with other people. Now, what this means is I feel like a lot of times in my own experience that I would get overwhelmed or burned out from interacting with people in ways I don't want to. What I mean that is a lot of times I would have people who I just met or events try to give me hugs. That takes a lot out of me because I really only take hugs from people that are really, 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 really close to me. Or personal touch from someone that's really, 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 really close to me. You get it. So, like, I would say because of that, I feel like, sometimes there's hugging churches or whatever. I kid you not, someone hugging me, my brain would just be like, dang, there goes half of my energy for the day. Because I was just like, I did not want to do this thing. You know what I mean? So putting down the boundaries kindly, just being like, hey, I prefer not to hug. This is going to also be set for talking to people. If you're on the phone, you can be like, hey, I can only talk to you for an hour. They might be like, hey, are you busy? You can be like, no, but I would like to do some self-care or take some time to recharge. You can take that even in interactions. Or same thing goes for events, as I said, as I've been using for an example for a while. Hey, this event doesn't seem like something I would typically enjoy. I know that this is something you enjoy. Maybe we can do it next month when I feel more recharged. There's multiple ways that you can set boundaries in a practical, peaceful, and kind way, in a straightforward way, without making people feel bad. And keep in mind, if these people feel some type of way about the way that you are setting boundaries, you should consider that maybe they're not for you. But again, everyone has their own situations, own lifestyles, and everything like that. Also keep in mind that it's okay if someone tries to push you in positive ways. For example, uh, I don't really like trying new foods. My partner likes for me to try new foods, even though I'm just like, oh, this texture looks weird, da da da. At the end of the day, I'll try the new foods. And then sometimes I realize I really like this food. Sometimes I realize I don't. But at least I tried it. But if you feel like someone is pushing your boundaries in a way that's not healthy, for example, you have a friend and you're saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable going to this event. And they're like, you're like a square, you're a loser, whatever, whatever. Like, I'll just go without you. I'll ask Tasha. That's probably not a good person to be around. Also, I would say make sure that you do self-care. Self-care are the things that you enjoy to do. Again, it doesn't have to be what everyone else seems as self-care. It doesn't have to be pinning cucumbers on your eyes, and it doesn't have to be taking a nap. Maybe it can be taking a refreshing run. Maybe it could be watching your favorite show. Maybe it could be binging on your hyperfocus. It could be a lot of things. Whatever helps you regain energy, as long as it's positive and unharmful to you or others, then that's a great way to recharge. Another thing is to seek support. When seeking support, it doesn't have to necessarily be a therapist, but it has to be at least some people that you can talk to about these. I feel like typically sometimes people want to be alone during burnout. A lot of times, in my own experience, when I'm burned out, I actually don't want to be alone. I actually like to at least have an animal near me, like a cat or a dog or something like that, or do parallel play around people that I do care about. And just to go into what parallel play is, to image two kids playing two different games next to each other, but not really interacting with each other. For example, I could be painting, and a friend of mine could be making music, and we're in the same room. We're just enjoying each other's company without exactly interacting. That's something that helps me recharge because I do not feel like I have to necessarily interact with this person, but I still get the connection that I want and desire. Now, another thing to have support is making sure that you do not do the thing where you feel like you are too much. I feel like one reason for burnout that I personally deal with is feeling like I am too much. And when I feel like I'm too much, then I'm more likely to burn out. Because when I start masking the way of hiding my hyperfocus, oh gosh, then I start to kind of, it just becomes very like I start really like building resentment. I think it's always good to at least have one friend, having a significant other, having a family member, coworker. Well, maybe not a coworker, but just having someone around that you could talk about your hyperfixation with, or talk about things that matter to you. I feel like another reason for people to be drained is to not share your passions. That's something that drains me. If I, and I was crazy as it sounds, if I can't go on a tangent about neurodiversity or mental health or the things that I'm interested in, religion, or all types of other things, then yeah, I'm going to be burned out from just being quiet and not doing anything, which is surprising, but it's something that affects me. So making sure that you have a support system is very important. Now, yes, it is very hard to find a support system when you are on the spectrum, but I would say I personally, one thing I do is that there's Facebook groups that have people of the autistic community. You can look for people there. There's forums. There's programs where you can meet people who are on the spectrum as you are, or meet other neurodivergent people like that. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I personally go on my feed and I put up a little thing in the groups and say, hey, anyone want to connect? I usually do this for the sense of networking sake, to network with other artists and filmmakers and everything like that, but it definitely has helped me build up a support system of people who have interests like I do, and I can go on and on about film with them because they're going to want to go on and on about film. At the end of the day, that is pretty much my summary to autistic burnout. It's not just feeling tired. It's not just feeling lazy. It's not just feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this thing. It's feeling drained. It's your phone on 5%, like how my camera is right now, and not taking the time to plug it up. If your phone was dying, you would plug it up. you know? So make sure that you do the same to yourself. Making sure that when you're on low battery, that you charge yourself by doing things that you love, relaxing things, setting boundaries, so you have a very healthy soul. At the end of the day, thank you for watching. Be subscribe and like, and maybe you can even write your own tips in the comments of how to outsmart burnout, um, or coping mechanisms for burnout, um, or coping mechanisms for burnout. I can't talk. I just recently, what you call it, recover from a burnout. I think if you noticed, I've been a little more trippy over my words and just trying to get through the video. But I said I want to be more consistent, so here you guys go. um, at the end of the day, yeah. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.